What would Shabbos? Welcome back, everybody. Good morning. We're in the middle of the sugya of Baal Tashchis. We're hopefully going to finish off Be'ez Hashem the sugya today, because tomorrow morning there's no shir, so we're going to try and finish off the sugya today with a Gavaldik HaMaisa. We've got Moedik HaMaisa to finish off today. So we left off with the shayla like this. What is the gather of Baal Tashchis? What is the gather of destruction and destroying items? When is it mutter? When is it asan? Are there any heterim, which today, Be'ez Hashem, we're going to try to go through to understand when there are specific heterim? Good morning over there. Okay. So we basically come out like this. The Chazon Ish is a shtikal ala Rambam in Hilchos Melachim Perek Vav Halacha Ches, where the Chazon Ish tainas, and he brings many rayos to this, that the Issa of Baal Tashchis is only biyadayim. That means to go with your hands physically and destroy and break something, that is the Issa Baal Tashchis. But to cause a grama, right, to cause it to happen, but not done biyadayim, is going to be mutter, right? It's negated, by the way, by Shemitah. Now we're in the year of Shemitah. For those of you that just kind of forgot about it, right? You kind of forget sometimes. You're in the middle of the year of Shemitah. When you forgot, if you get, for example, you go to Osherad and you buy a banana that has kedusha shvius, what would happen then if you only eat half of it and the other half is I'm not going to eat it for whatever reason. So I'm not going to destroy it, I'm not going to take and shmush it, I'm just going to put it in the bin, I'm going to put it on the side, and eventually it's going to go moldy. There's no issa of shmita, because that's called a grama. It's not destroying it b'yadayim, and shmita produce, you're not allowed to destroy b'yadayim, but you are allowed, according to most poskim, to actually cause it to be destroyed, according to most poskim. So with the same things that the Chazon Ish applies by Baal Tashchis. That if I'm not doing a ma'aseh b'yadayim to ruin the item, to destroy it, I'm just causing it to be destroyed, then that is mutter. Rav Moshe has a tshuva in Yeridea, Chelik Beis, Simon Kuf Ayin Daled, look it up, where he brings Anaf Gimel, by the way, it's a huge tshuva. You look up Anaf Gimel over there, and he says, and he's actually writing a tshuva to the Minchas Yitzchak, Dayan Weiss, from Manchester, and then eventually Yerushalayim. And when Moshe wrote the tshuva to Minchas Yitzchak, and he says clearly that the Torah only forbade to destroy something biyodayim, to destroy something with your hands. The Torah was not machayev a person, did not obligate a person to save things from being destroyed. So with Moshe to Minchas Yitzchak, you're not machayev to save things from being destroyed because it's going to be Baal Tashchis. Okay? Like the Minchas Yitzchak has a tshuva himself in Chelik Gimel Simon Memhei, where he says, do I have a chiyuv to eat everything to save it from being Baal Tashchis? For example, on my plate I have food. If I don't eat everything, it's going to get thrown out. That's going to be Baal Tashchis. Do I have a chiyuv to finish my plate? Do I have a chiyuv to finish the apple? Do I have a chiyuv to finish whatever it is I'm eating so that I don't throw it out and be over on Baal Tashchis? And the Minchas Yitzchak says, no, I've got no chiyuv because that's not destroying it by a dime, it's only a grama. And he brings a raya, Minchas Yitzchak brings a Moedik HaRaya. I'm not going to be married on the raya. He brings a raya from Yaakov Avinu. The Gemara in Chulin Daf Tzadi Aleph brings the pasuk by Vasa Yaakov Levada. Yaakov went back for the Pachim Ketanim, even though he didn't have to. It was a Midas Chasidus. It was an extra thing to do. Zuk the Minchas Yitzchak. Baal Tashchis. Yeah, but there was no ma'aseh b'yadayim of destroying, and therefore Zuk the Minchas Yitzchak. There's no Baal Tashchis in that case. Now, when it comes to things that have no to'eles to a human being, so if something has zero to'eles to a human being, the post can bring down that there's no problem to destroy it. There's no Baal Tashchis over there. That's why the Nodib Yehuda has a tshuva, and he says you're allowed to kill an insect that has no. If a human being has no to'eles on this insect when it's alive, you're allowed to kill it and have hana when it's dead. For example, making a shtreimel out of various types of furs and tails of various animals. Of the Nodib Yehuda, if you're having no actual to'eles from it, that's not called Baal Tashchis, ruining the animal, especially as you're having hana after its death. Hashchasas gufoi. What about Baal Tashchis on your own body? What din does that have? It's interesting, by the way, not a sugi for now, but agav, it's a Gemara in Yuma. The Shulchan Aruch brings it down in Siman Shin Chof Ches about when a person, or the Gemara calls apik tvezen. Apik tvezen, the Gemara says, is apik tvezun, which means if you get out the extra food, that means that what they used to do, the Gemara tells us about it, Shulchan Aruch brings it, Shin Chof Ches, that you used to put your fingers in your mouth in order to cause a person to throw up. Right? It was a certain type of remedy. When a person's not feeling good, you've got a stomach problem, you make yourself vomit, you make yourself throw up, and through that you're relieved, you feel a better stomach, and you're healed. It's a shayla on Shabbos if you're allowed to do that. The Gabi Hilchos Refuah, I'm not going into at this moment of time. But Al Koponim, interesting over there, Rashi says, what's one of the problems of doing that? The problem is Baal Tashchis. Baal Tashchis on the food that you ate. It's not on the food that you ate, the more food that you're going to eat, because now you're going to be hungry. Now you're going to be starving, so you have to eat more food. So you're eating things that you don't need to. But no, that's not our sugya. Are you allowed to damage your own goof? For example, are you allowed to go paintballing? Right? That's the shayla also on damaging somebody else. But is there a problem with damaging a person's physical goof? Right now we've been discussing physical objects. What about your own body? Is there an union of Baal Tashchis in your own body? So there's a machloikas tanoim in the Gemara in Baba Kama Tzadi Aleph on the base that if a person damages himself, he's over. The question is, what exactly is he over? And the Rambam brings it as well in Choyvel Mazik as well in Parakeh. The Rambam says it's osa for a person to damage himself, as I pask in the Rosh, as I pask in the Riv. To damage yourself is an issa. Your body, by the way, doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the Rabbeinu Shalom. It was a bikoden that the Rabbeinu Shalom gave us, and we thank the Rabbeinu Shalom in Moed Ani every single day for getting the bikoden back. That we're able to use our body that the Rabbeinu Shalom gave us, but we have no right to destroy or damage the body that the Rabbeinu Shalom gave us. There's a machlokes rishonim, is it Baal Tashchis to damage your own body? The Aruch Laneh in Nida Yud Gimel Noman Aleph brings down, it's also Tiferes Yisrael B'nai Netzion, holds it's an Issa Baal Tashchis, that when you damage your body, you're over on the Issa of Baal Tashchis. Others, the Binyan Yeshua and the Obvious of Nosson, or on a time there's an Issa of Nishmatim, and therefore you've got to be careful. So that could be the Shaila of paintballing without obviously the heta of being moichel, and people are moichel, and it's only a game, v'choli v'choli. Now, what are the heterim? When are you actually allowed to throw things out? Right? We spoke yesterday, for example, the Shaila of a plastic plate and a plastic cup. What din does that have? Right? Nowadays, as I said yesterday from my Rashiva of Steinberg, that nowadays we live in a generation where we're wealthy, we have shefa, we have plastic cups, paper cups, plastic ware all over the place, chad pami, disposables. We throw things out which theoretically could be used again, and some people do use them again. We don't. The question is, do we have a het to throw these things out? So there are two main heterim when it comes to Baal Tashchis. Het number one is what we call darkei bekach. Darkei bekach means that if something is the derech to throw out, even if it could be used and it could theoretically be used again, then it's going to be mutter, right? And that's what the poskim say, that you throwing something out is not called a maisar shchosa because it's a normal thing to do in that situation. Where's the raya? There's a Tosfos in Shabbos. Tosfos in Shabbos Kuf Mem Gimel Amud Aleph talks about destroying Michael Behema. He's talking about crumbs that are less than a kazayas on the Shabbos table. Now they're oimed to throw out, Zuk Tosfos. Nobody uses them, no one feeds them to the animals, no one eats them, and therefore they're oimed to throw out. No human being or animal is going to eat them, even though be'etzem they could be eaten by a human being and an animal, but that's irrelevant, says Tosfos. There's no ita. Why? Because they are made to be thrown out. They're oimed l'zrikas of Tosfos. If that's the case, we have a heta to take any of our plastic plates and plastic cups after one usage. If it's the normal thing not to reuse them, then you'll be able to go along and throw them out. That's heta number one. Heta number two is lutoy eles. What happens if a person is breaking something or damaging something for a constructive purpose? Right? Famously, the Gemara talks about this in Shabbos Kofei Amud Beis, where the Gemara tells us that if a person is ripping his clothing out of anger, and the ripping of the clothing is going to calm him down, so the Gemara tells us that is mutter. You're ruining your clothing, you're ruining kelim, you're smashing vases and frames and who knows what, but it's lotayeles because you are becoming calmed by doing that in that case. I'll give it to Machlokes Rishonim over there. Does the Gemara mean whole ones or half broken ones? That's a shaila in the Rishonim. And by the way, the Meiri brings down over there in the Gemara in Shabbos, Zug the Meiri, that it's roy for every person not to do this, so that people don't learn from you. But Al Kaponim, it is brought down in the Gemara, that's halacha l'maisa, that sometimes if there's a te'eles in it, then it's going to be mutter. What would be an example, halacha l'maisa, for us? Very simple example, I'm sure you guys are recognizing these examples. Let's say, for example, you have a phone, like young kids, they love taking things apart. It's geschmack. You take a phone, you take, screwdrivers, you rip it apart, open up the wires, it's all geschmack. So you give an old phone that's really usable, but you just bought yourself a new one, so I don't need it, and I give it to the child to enjoy himself, to play with it, to have hana from it. That's mutter, because that's a toyeles, and there's no problem with that. The Shvus Yaakov talks about, for example, destroying something for a medical benefit. If, for example, in the labs, they need to do things by destroying things, killing animals, whatever it may be, for a benefit, then that's not called Baal Tashchis, that's Lotei Eles. Mishnah Berurah discusses the famous shaila of breaking the glass under the chuppah. What's the heta? You're taking a beautiful glass and you're smashing it? Baal Tashchis. Zuk the Mishnah Berurah 9, because it's for Lotei Eles of Zeicha Lebeis HaMikdash, it's for the Zechiros of Yerushalayim, it's Zeicha LeMikdash, and therefore that's the reason Zuk the Mishnah Berurah why it is mutter in that case. Something, for example, if you take an old table that's a bit broken and you don't need it, but you need it for a fire, you need heat, whatever, that's a te'eles, and that would be okay in that case. the price can bring down. And I remember the Shaila, it's not again now, but I remember the Shaila when they discussed the Shaitlach that were Asa because of Avodah Zorah, so it was Asa Bahano, so there were literally fires on the streets. I remember coming back from Koilel, seeing on the streets, there were fires going on, like on the side, people throwing out their Shaitls and they were all on fire there. Whatever, different sugya, that not for now, maybe we should discuss it at a different time. That's obviously not going to be a Baal Tashchis if a person is doing it for a purpose because of that, or he's doing it for tznius purposes for whatever reason, which we're definitely not going into at this moment of time. What happens if a person has a house full, he's a hoarder. Don't you know what's a hoarder? You hoard things. People like to keep everything. They never throw things out. The house is full of every type of memory, picture, item, whatever it may be. They decide one day, that's it, we're doing a clearance, we're getting rid of everything. Baal Tashchis, these are wonderful things. These are things that are usable. The answer is, if you're doing it lutoy eles, to clean out your house, to declog the house, then avada, that's going to be mutter. Rav Vosna is a modik tshuva in Shevet Halevi in the following. Look this up. Chelik tes simon kuf chof ois beis. He brings the shaila like this. What happens if you call up a rabbi and you say, Rabbi, I have a shaila. I had a chicken soup and some milk fell into it. I got a shtickle Torah. I had a whole boss of a chalav shaila. And the rabbi says, listen, la locha lemaisa, it's mutter. No, it's 100% mutter. I can find you poskim that say it's mutter, it's fine. Oh, but lemaisa, there are poskim that hold to be machmeh. I think it's kedai for you personally. The Rav says, I know you, I think it's kedai to be machmeh. Mekadin, it's mutter. Right, you want to be machmeh, I think it's kedai to be machmeh. So Rav Vosna talks about the shaila, forget about giving it to somebody else. But am I allowed to throw it out? I want to be machmeh. Am I allowed to throw it in that case? And Rav Vosna Paskins and Rav Moshe Shtermach has a tshuva also, Chelik Aleph Siman Shin Mem, where he discusses the shaila and he says that that's not Baal Tashchis, because I'm doing it l'te'eles. I want to be machmeh like the poskim. I'm not machmeh stam. I'm machmeh because the rabbi who asked the shaila to told me it's kedai to be machmeh, and therefore it's okay. Another example Vosna talks about. Let's say you're machmeh not to sell chometz. Many people, like the Vilna Goin, are machmeh not to sell chometz before Pesach. Chometz gomer, whiskey, all sorts of shilas, right? Unless it's a hefsed, many people are machmeh in that case. So if I do that, so I'm going to be throwing out chometz. I'm going to be throwing out all sorts of cakes and challahs and everything from the freezer. Baal Tashchis, avadi paskins, it's a vada, not Baal Tashchis for care of the year. It's a mitzvah of getting rid of all of the chometz in that case. Rabbi said another few shilas just to go into is like this: getting rid of food. Bizoy oichlin, be very careful. Treating food with respect is very important. The Rambam discusses it in Hilchos Brachos Perek Zayin Halacha Tes. It's called bizoy oichlin. Anytime you destroy a meichel, derech bizoyin. A person has to be very careful over here. It can even be you don't even need a shava pruta of enough of a kezayis to be yaitze. Even though we said in the beginning that you need a shava pruta of an item in order to have the value for it to be Baal Tashchis. But when it comes to food, even the kezayis, you're over on, you have to be very, very careful in that case. With Yashav as a Gavaldige Yisoid, we know, most of us are familiar with the Gemara because we're learning now Eli Metzias. So you open up the Eli Metzias, you open up the Chov Gimel Nomen Aleph, and the Gemara talks about Ein Oivim Ala Oichel, you've got bread on the road, all sorts of things. What are you allowed to do? What are you not allowed to do? Whatever it is. So Yashav says, a Modik Yisoid, and he says that when the Gemara is talking about finding food, you have to be careful, you can't step on it, whatever it may be, put it to the side, is talking about if you find the food in a tsura that people still will eat it. If you find it in a tsura that no one's going to eat it, it has no chashivas of food, and therefore you don't have to pick it up. You shouldn't be mavazer it, you shouldn't step on it, that could be. But Akoponim, to pick it up and to be yotze all the halachas that you saw in the Gemara and Bava Metzia about saving food is only Zukrav Yashav if you find it in a way, in a tsura, that people will still eat it in that case. Same thing also applies with throwing out challah, for example. The Shulchan Aruch brings it in Simon Kufay and Aleph. If you have challah, you have to be careful how to throw out challah. If it's got more than a kezayis, wrap it up. If it's less, you can be mekel, whatever it may be. But I'll upon him throwing challah, right? What's the halacha when it comes to throwing challah? So there's a famous, people have big tainas. How you are throwing challah, bezoyin to the challah, right? People cut mahamoitzi and then they throw it out, right? They throw it out to the oilam. What's the heta? So there's a modiga in the minhagim of the Ksav Sofer. See, he brings down faked. You're meant to throw the challah. Again, for someone that has a zaminik. Well, zuk the Ksav Sofer, why? Because the shulchan is like a mizbeach and the oichlim is like a korban, and I'm doing zrikas a korban. And as I took the Ksav Sofer, that's why people have a minute to throw. Again, I'm not saying we should start throwing around challah. It's talking about the balabos who's actually cutting the challah. He's the balabais. He's cutting the challah. He's giving it out. That's kenzan, because you're especially not allowed to give it to someone in the hand. The minik avelis, whatever. But I'll upon him. If it's not your minik, don't do it. But that's that. Next, Rebelsky Zatzal. Your site is on Friday, right? Rebelsky's your site's on Friday. So Azayid. Kolateru Kula bin Adam Lechaver. Unbelievable. You get, it's beautiful. Anyway, so he has a tshuva in Shulchan Alevi where he discusses the shaila where people do these things. They carve out vegetables and fruit in order for decoration on the table. They carve out a cucumber. He talks about carving a cucumber to put the chrein in. People carve out melon and cantaloupe and watermelon, all these things to make fancy things. Lemaisa Rebelski Zatzal Paskins, it should not be done because your Baal Tashchis on the item, unless you're going to eat the item that you're decorating afterwards. But if you're not going to eat it, Rebelski Lemaisa says that you shouldn't be doing these things. And you've got to be careful to do all of these things. The Mishnah Berurah in Kufayim Beis discusses the shaila. If a person ate or drank without a bracha, normally you're not allowed to spit something else. But if it's a liquid, for example, that you can't put to one side, then it's better to spit it out and make the bracha over there, and that's not considered to be Baal Tashchis. Although, that being said, you learn the Piskei Tshuva, for example, in Siman Peites and Siv Beis, where he discusses the shaila, and a person does kinuach v'hadocha, where he rinses out his mouth in between milchiks to fleishiks. You have some cheesecake on Shavuos or whenever, or on Hanukkah more likely. You have the cheesecake on Hanukkah, and then you want to wash out your mouth before you eat a fleishik asida. So you got a problem over there. So the Piskei Tshuva, if you're having liquids, you can't spit them out. Don't just squish around the liquid and spit it out, because that's Baal Tashchis. So you've got to be careful in that case. If you buy a hechsher that you don't eat, you brought something back and then you say, well, I don't know the Hebrew writing, the guy had a beard, it's probably okay. You come back to the yeshiva and everyone's like, what? It's not on the list of hechsherim that you're allowed to eat. What are you going to do in that case? So you can give it away to someone that, I guess someone that's allowed to eat those hechsherim, whenever it may be, but maybe and obviously not your friend. That's a davar poshet. If you have a food or vegetable that is infested in insects and it's disgusting and you found a few and the rest of it probably clean but probably might have insects and I want to throw it out, that is not considered to be Baal Tashchis in that case, because that is a normal thing to do. So let's just end the whole shaila with one thing. We've got to be careful of the Rebbeinu Shlom's gewaldige things that he made in the world. Like the chinuch said in the beginning, we said yesterday, the whole yesod zuk the chinuch of this shaila is to be careful and to cling to the good that the Rebbeinu Shlom gave us. Just to tell you one last ma'isa, the Heilige Rishon Rebbe was about to make a shidduch. He was about to make a shidduch with the Rebbe of Rimonov, and right before the Tanoim, the Rishon told over the minig. Those of you that were by the Sadigez Tish, he did this minig b'shas ma'isa, and that the minig comes from the Rishon Rebbe, that you mentioned the yichus of the mishpacha b'shas when they get engaged. So it's a Rishon Rebbe. He did it. He did it because he said that's the minig, right? So the Rishon Rebbe did it. And he said over to the Rimonova, he said the same thing. Can you please, mention before the Tanoim the ganze mishpacha? So the Rishon started mentioning his yichus, Kanai Nahora, where he came from, going one after the other, Gedolei Tzadikim, unbelievable. So now it was time for the Rebbe of Rimonov to mention his yichus. And he said, listen, my father and my mother died when I was only 10 years old. I didn't know them so well, so I can't really sing their praises. But I can tell you this, they were honest people. As I was an orphan, Zuk the Rimonova, I was brought over to a tailor, and for 5 years I worked there with honesty. I was always careful to fix the old and never ruin the new. Zuk the Rishon, you can stop there. Because if you are makbid on people's property, then that is the minig and that is the anhoga of tzadikim. And that's a gavaldige zach, Zuk the Rishon, it's a gavaldige zach to remember. We have to remember one last thing before we finish up by saying, the biggest Baal Tashchis is the Baal Tashchis of time. Rabbi Yaakov Emden had a line outside his study. People were waiting to go into the Heilige Rabbi Yaakov Emden for a bracha, and his shamash, and people were there on the line, and they saw that the Heilige Shamash of the Rebbe was there, and every 15 minutes he was announcing, it's 1:45. It's 1:15, and someone's like, what are you doing? What are you doing this for? So the Shamash said, I want to remind everybody, time is passing by. Every moment that you have in this world, you will never get again. Don't waste it, don't destroy it, don't ruin it, and cling to the good. And as we said in the chinuch, it's a skula for a person to get all the good from Shemaim. Have a wonderful day.